Hello, and welcome back to the THE Student. We're joined by Queen's here today. Queen's is a university in Kingston, Ontario, in Canada. So we're going to learn all about studying in Canada and all of the great programs and facilities that Queen's have to offer. So I'm going to first pass on to Aidan, who's going to do an introduction.
Thank you, Amelia. Really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here. And of course, we're excited to tell you about Queen's University. I know that today, most of you are probably calling in from Brazil. My Portuguese is pretty limited, but bom dia. Or no, bom dia, that's it. I think I said it right now. But if you have any Spanish there, both myself and my colleague, who I'll pass over to in a moment, are Spanish speakers. So happy to do a bit of chatting in Spanish, but the presentation today will be in English. Um, so just so you know too, I'm a recruiter at Queen's. My region is Latin America. Love the countries, love the culture, love the food, of course, as well too. So if you ever want to reach out to me and talk about any of that, I'm always game. Okay, and I'll pass it over now.
Thank you, Aidan. Hello, everyone. My name is Carolina Palmer. I am your international student advisor here at Queen's University. So part of my portfolio deals with assisting students with any immigration questions that they may have while they come and study here in Canada. We'll go a little bit more into detail here shortly, but it's really great to be able to be with you all today, and I hope that you find the information we're sharing today helpful.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Carolina. And with that, we're going to jump right into the presentation. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A. We will have plenty of time at the end to answer any questions that you might have for us. So this here is Queen's University. As you can see, we have a stunning campus, beautiful limestone buildings, a bit of Canadian chateau architecture style as well too. We'll talk a little bit more about the campus in a bit, but I just want to show you a quick snapshot of where you could be studying. So a bit about us. We are in the top 200 in the world universities, and this is judged by the QS World University Rankings. We're also within the top 10 in Canada, and we have students, international students, coming from more than, we have more than 3,700 international students coming from 119 different countries. We are very much a global campus, and we have a huge international focus, and that's something that you're going to see throughout this presentation. We're also part of the U15, which is a group of Canadian research universities. Queen's does a lot of world-changing research. Probably one of our biggest achievements right now is we've had some breakthroughs in cancer research. So if that's something you're interested in, we're a great spot to do medical research, environment, bit of everything, really. We also have a 92.9% employment rate across all faculties. We're very career focused. And the way we calculate this employment rate is we're actually looking 6 months after you graduate to see if you've entered a job in your field. And 92.9% of our students do, which is incredibly high. We have partnerships all around the world. We've actually connected with 220 universities in more than 50 different countries. So you actually can spend some time studying at another university, typically in your upper years. So you can do a semester, say in Japan or Germany or just about anywhere. Yeah, we also do a lot of research with these universities, and you'll also meet students who are coming from these 220 universities to study with us. Queen's is very well known for its academic excellence, both in Canada and abroad. As I mentioned before, some amazing research. A lot of our professors are also industry professionals. So it's not like they've only been teaching. Most of them have actually worked out in the fields that they're instructing about. And some of them still are working out in those fields as well, too. And they're bringing up-to-date information to the lecture halls. So I'm now going to quickly talk about some of the faculties that we have at Queen's. And the first one I'll mention, and by far the biggest, is our Faculty of Arts and Sciences. And if you're sitting at your computer right now and you're wondering what constitutes arts and sciences, let me explain. So the arts can be considered sort of the social sciences. So things like politics, philosophy, economics would fall into there as well too, but also things like drama. Um, there's quite a bit in that field. We also have the sciences too. Sciences are probably a little bit easier to wrap your head around. So those would be things like chemistry, biology, physics, biochemistry, but also includes things such as applied economics, mathematics, and computer science. So there's quite a bit in the arts and sciences here. Again, an incredible employment rate for these fields. It's very customizable, the arts and sciences. Most students will do a general year where they'll essentially get to kind of test the waters, take the courses they like, and then they'll pick their degree option at the beginning of second year. We have 2,600 different degree options, and not to worry, we do walk you through that. We really help build a degree plan that's right for you. But what it means is that there's a lot of mobility. You can do what you want to do. We're not going to keep you siloed in one area. You can also explore things that are outside of your degree plan as well, do certificates, add things in. Next, I'll mention is concurrent education. This is a terrific program for anyone that wants to become a teacher. You're actually going to do your undergraduate degree, so your BA, your BSc, perhaps a Bachelor of Music if you're interested in that, and you're getting a teaching degree, a Bachelor of Education. Compared to every other university in Ontario, which is the province we're in, we actually have our students graduate a full year earlier and get out into the working world. That final year is very job focused. So not only are you doing placements, but you're actually going to meet with our career services. And we have a specific career services for educators, and it is the largest in Canada. The Ontario Teacher's Certificate is widely transferable, not only within Canada, but also outside of Canada. It's recognized in many countries, and in many cases, it can easily be converted into a local teacher's certificate. So you can teach in more places than just Ontario. Next, we'll talk about engineering. So our engineering has a very high retention rate, and this is pretty important for engineering. Like most schools, we have a general first year where we're going to give you that base foundation of engineering courses. After that first year, you're going to select your discipline. Now, the one thing that we do differently is we guarantee you your choice of major. You don't have to compete for it. You just tell us what it is that you want to do. And we have 10 different disciplines available to you, everything from chemical engineering to the very lucrative mining engineering, which is often overlooked, but a terrific program. We also have things such as computer engineering. I will mention computer engineering specifically, along with mechatronics and robotics, because both of these programs you can do direct entry. So you can skip that general first year and get right into doing the program. So if you know right out of the gate that you want to do either mechatronics and robotics or computer engineering, that's a great option for you. Next over, we have Smith Commerce. Commerce is our flagship business program. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we are a very global university. We like to bring a global perspective to our classrooms, and you'll see that a lot in the commerce program. We really take an international approach to business. So it is competitive to get in the program, but once you're in, it's very collaborative. You're going to be learning about business, not just from a Canadian or North American perspective, but from how business is done globally. And this is incredibly important for this field because business is global nowadays. Business is everywhere, and we're very much interconnected, probably now more than we've ever been. We also highly encourage you to spend time in another country, really just to see how business is taught and done there as well. So 85% of our commerce students will actually go study at another university for a semester. Many of our commerce students too will only do the commerce program and then go right into the working world. They choose not to do masters, and they don't need to. We are known widely in Canada, the United States, globally as well. We're the top undergraduate business program in Canada, so our students come out very prepared. Okay, we also have health sciences. If there's anyone on this webinar that's interested in perhaps going into medicine or healthcare, this is a program well worth looking at. This program is designed to create healthcare professionals by blending the science aspect of healthcare along with the social aspects. And truthfully, you need both to be successful in this field. You'll be working with a lot of models and a lot of equipment in your first year. By the time you're in your third year, you'll have access to the cadaver lab. And Carolina, do you want to give us for those that might not know, what's a cadaver lab?
So a cadaver lab is where you'll be able to work along with bodies that have been donated once they have passed.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So we're talking about human bodies, and it's really important to get that practical experience. We also have a hospital right here on campus, which I'll talk a bit more about very shortly. Health sciences, we also have a career fair in third year where we're going to introduce you to as many careers as possible in the healthcare field beyond just things like doctors and nurses and dentists and the things that we all know about, because there are a lot of jobs out there. Finally, we get to the last program I'll talk about today, which is nursing. Now, I mentioned in the last slide that we have a hospital right on campus. As a nursing student, you are becoming a registered nurse. This is a professional designation. If you want to stay in Canada, let me tell you, we are desperate for nurses. I think that goes pretty much globally. Since the pandemic ended, nursing has been an amazing field to get into because there are so many spots and openings. Our nurses will spend in first year a fair bit of time in the classroom getting those theoretical skills and also working with dummies, which you can see in this photo here. So this is actually quite a high-tech dummy, which will give you feedback on how you're delivering oxygen, perhaps how you're doing CPR, if everything's hooked up right. It's a good way to find out if you're doing that well before you test it on a real human. But starting as early as first year, and then by the time you're in fourth year, even more so, you will be spending a lot of time in the hospital, actually working with patients and assisting. So it's a very hands-on program. And once you finish, you'll be ready to start as a registered nurse right away. Now, if you are looking for some further hands-on experience, or if you're perhaps saying, oh, I want to do a co-op, well, we have something that's even better than a co-op. So a traditional co-op, you work for maybe 4 months at a time, and then you go back to school. We have internships. Our internship programs are a full 12 to 16 months. So you're truly getting integrated into the company that you're working with, or whatever. It may not be a private company, maybe a public service that you're working with, but you're actually going to be a valuable member. We make sure with the internships that they are related to what you're studying, they're worth your time, and the work you're doing is valuable. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, you are paid. So you do not work for free ever at Queen's. We've sent interns to work at places like NASA, National Defense, Apple, Tesla, many terrific places. On the slide here is a picture of Nicole, who is one of our students that finished up an internship not too long ago with Queen's University, where she was actually doing an overhaul of some of our computer systems and data. And she is now studying at MIT in a computer science master's. So she's done very well. One of our other students, one of our international ambassadors, which I'll talk a little bit about them later, he actually just finished an internship this summer. He's back at school now, but they liked him so much at his internship that he has a job lined up for when he finishes school. So as soon as he's done university, he's going to be starting to work at one of the big banks in Toronto. So as I mentioned, we really want you to get it. You know, you're coming to university because you want a career, and we know that. So we have a lot of supports to help you to that end. One that I will recommend that you take advantage of as early as first year is our career services. They have things ready for you to start planning and figuring stuff out as early as when you arrive university. And of course, by the time you're in fourth year, they're going to be helping you with how to search for jobs, what's out there, filling out applications, resumes, anything you can imagine. We also have a specific international career services advisor. So this is someone who will not only help you if you're looking to go to a completely brand new country, but if you're also trying to come back home to your home country and get a job, or maybe even stay in Canada. They understand the international experience. They understand some of the challenges, the other considerations that you have. They're going to be able to help you find a career that's going to be right for you. Now, I haven't really talked about where we are. So, assuming you're here, and if you didn't know already, we're in Canada. We're in a city called Kingston. So, Kingston is in the province of Ontario, which is sort of in the center of Canada, and it's Canada's most populous province. We're halfway between Toronto, which is the big English city, and Montreal, which is the big French city. We're right on Lake Ontario, and we're only 2 hours south of the capital, Ottawa. Kingston is a very safe, a very walkable city. It's nice and compact. It only takes 15 minutes to cross by car. Campus itself only takes 10 minutes to cross on foot, and we're only 10 minutes from a very vibrant downtown. There's a lot of artists in Kingston. There's a big music scene, and perhaps one of my favorite things, we have Canada's largest independent restaurant scene per capita. So there's just terrific food around every single corner. On that note, Carolina, any food recommendations?
Man, there is just so much that you can choose from different foods available in Kingston. As mentioned here, we have the most restaurants per capita. So whether you're craving Thai food, Latin food, any type of food, you'll be able to find it within walking distance. So for me, I definitely love Thai food, and there's lots around. There's sushi. So, you will never go hungry, that's for sure.
I absolutely agree. You will find your spot, and if you're having trouble, ask just about anybody around you in Kingston. They will have a recommendation without a doubt. And also, if you're really desperate for some American food, we're only 20 minutes from the US border, so not too far away there. Okay, this is our campus here. As I mentioned before, it's an absolutely stunning campus. We're one of the oldest universities in Canada. We have these beautiful limestone buildings, which I'm still find impressive every single day that I'm here. We also have a beautiful art center, which you can see sort of in that middle photo. It's called the Isabel Bader Center. It's right on the waterfront. So if you're an art student, you're in a great spot for some real creative thinking. One thing I'll say about Queen's University, and I've worked at a few different institutions, is I truly believe that Queen's has hit the perfect balance between high quality academics, but also a good social life and extracurriculars and fun. And I personally believe that you need to both of those things to be successful. You need to be getting a good quality education, but you also need to be happy, healthy, and enjoying yourself. And I think we really have that. One thing that I will say is very unique to Queens is our level of school spirit. We have a lot of school spirit. Whatever it is you're picturing now, I promise you it's more. Um, Queens students are very happy to be at Queens. They always have swag. Carolina, how long before you got your Queens swag when you arrived?
I would say that I received it, like I just got lots of stuff within the first day.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, so there's a really good and vibrant community there on campus. Um, so actually, before I move over to this slide, I'll also just quickly mention too, we have a lot of different clubs. We have the most number of clubs per capita at a university in Canada, including 2 Latin clubs. So if you're looking to connect with Portuguese or Spanish speakers, depending on what your preference is, um, or you're looking to do some salsa dancing or find, some local food that, it reminds you of home. There are plenty of student groups that you can connect with who will assist you with that. So I want to now talk quickly about athletics and recreation. We are a huge sports school. Make no mistake, uh, hockey is still the biggest sport in Canada. And if you don't see a hockey game while you're here, well, don't let that happen. Make sure you catch a hockey game. It's well worth it, and it's very inexpensive. But increasingly, we are seeing football, and when I say football, I mean soccer, uh, rise in popularity. We have a terrific soccer team. We're always looking for new soccer players. If you're somebody that wants to play at a very high level and give a bit of your soul over to the sport, there's our varsity teams. They practice quite a bit, just so you know. But we also have intramurals. So if you're looking for something a little more fun but still competitive, there's those available, and they're very easy to sign up. You get to play with your friends. There's local teams in Kingston as well too. There's also futsal. So we play soccer pretty late into the season here, but as soon as there's a lot of snow on the ground, it gets a bit more challenging. So we'll move inside and we'll play futsal, which is indoor soccer there. Lastly, there's always a pickup game of soccer going on. So if you're looking for soccer, I promise you we have it, and we have just about every other sport there. Over 80% of our students are involved in some sort of athletic activity. So if you're a person that's outdoorsy, or you just like to work out, you'll find a spot to do that. And there's a lot of hiking in nature too. So if you want to not necessarily be in a gym, very easy to do. We have 18 different residence buildings. Our residence buildings range from single rooms to large single rooms, double rooms, double loft rooms, 2 single rooms attached by 1 bathroom suite. There's a lot of different options here. There are, if you go on our website, triple rooms and quad rooms. So that's 3 or 4 people to a room. Please understand, you'll never be put in one of those rooms. You have to request it. That's only if you and your buddies all want it. Then it's a great option. As an international student, you are actually guaranteed a spot on residence. Carolina will tell you a little bit more about residence, including the free early move-in a bit later in the presentation. But you're right on campus, only a short walk from class, and the dining halls are all in the area. Speaking of the dining halls, we have 3 of them. The most important things to know is that we serve all diets. So whatever it is that is the food that you eat and is required for you, we have it. We'll make sure you have it. The other thing, and I think actually this photo highlights it pretty well, we serve real food. And when I say real food, we're not feeding you just pizza and fries and burgers. We do have those things if you want them, but we actually have proper home style meals. We are getting properly cooked meat, a good portion of veggies. There's always a salad bar open as well too. High quality, nutritious food, which is something that you really do need as well too, to be successful in your academics. And with that said, I'm going to pass things over to Carolina to tell you a little bit more about some of our commitment to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aiden. Again, we know that this is a lot of information, but rest assured, if there's something that you need further clarification on, do not hesitate to enter it in the Q&A. We will go through those later on, but we hope that you're finding the information so far helpful. I think Aiden has done a great job highlighting all of the great services that Queen's does offer. I am a proud alumni from Queen's University, and when we're talking about residents and student life, it's definitely 110% true. We offer just so many great services and resources and supports for our students. So, the pictures don't do its justice. There's just so much more, and we can't wait to have you join us. So, with my part of the presentation, I'm going to be talking about our commitment to you, to our international students. So one of the first commitments is a 7,000 tuition credit. So you're wondering, how do I qualify for this 7,000 tuition credit? So as long as you pay for a portion of your tuition by summertime, you would be eligible to receive this 7,000 tuition credit, which is great. Money does go a long way. So if you're able to do this, you can put that money towards something else, your following year, whatever it is. The other great thing too is that there is no increase in your tuition fees. So rest assured, when you receive your letter of acceptance and you see your tuition fees, for your 4 years of studying at Queen's University, the fees will remain the same. And you know what? This is extremely important because as we see globally, there's an increase in pricing for almost everything. So the fact that this is guaranteed, that there's not going to be an increase, I think it's a really good thing. Another great resource that we have, which I obviously love to highlight, is the immigration support services that we have at Queen's University. So that's where I come in. This is where we assist you with any immigration questions that you have. So when you come to Canada, you're coming in as a temporary resident. So I went to school directly for this so that I can help students prepare for not only their transition to Canada, but with their immigration documentation. In addition to this, we have partnered with Border Pass. So Border Pass is a company that will assist you with your application for your study permit as well. So there is a lot of support related to that. We understand that, choosing to come and study in Canada is a big deal, and it requires a lot of attention, but so does the immigration component. So we love to provide that level of support to you. Another great resource that we have that Aiden touched base on a little bit earlier on is the early residence move-in. And let me tell you, I would say that this is another one of my most favorite things that we offer for our students because, some of you may be traveling for a fair distance. There may be an adjustment with maybe time change or even with just adjusting to a new country, right? It's could be a bit of an adjustment. So with that being said, this early residence move-in gives you the opportunity to really adjust before you begin your studies, because we want you to be well rested, adjusted before you begin your studies. In addition to that, we offer free airport pickup. So I know that for myself, when I travel, if there's someone waiting for me, that is the highlight of my day. So the fact that there is a free airport pickup service available for our students. I'm not sure if we have parents joining us on this session, but what a great service to have for our students who are traveling halfway across the world and having someone directly be able to pick them up and bring them directly to residence. In addition to that, we also have the personalized guidance and mentorship service that we have. So lots available for our students so that we can help you prepare for success right from the beginning. So another great another great department that I would love to highlight is the QUIC. So that's the Queen's University International Center. So this is where we go really above and beyond for our international students. So as you saw earlier, we have over 3,700 international students. That's a fair bit of students, right? So we want to be there to be able to support them, help them with that transition, with the adjustment, right? Things like culture shock could happen, right? Whether it happens right away, whether you move even from one city to another within your country, like this can happen, right? We're all excited to move, try something new, but we're there to support you with pre-arrival information. So there's actually a very detailed pre-arrival guide to help students learn everything about Queen's University, about Canada, about immigration before you even get here. So lots of good detailed information on there. There's information that they help you related to your insurance. Obviously here, you want to make sure that you have insurance so that if you need to go and see a doctor, you don't have to worry about any additional expenses because it's all covered while you're studying here. We touched a little bit on the career services, another great team to work with because whether you have work experience in your home country or not, writing your resume could be very different, could look very different than what you're used to writing in your home country. So they will help you tailor it towards more of like the Canadian market and what our resumes would look like more so here. There's also the student academic success services. So again, writing essays may look very different. Research may look very different in your home country versus here in Canada. So these are all a great group of folks that come together, support you. They work with international students on a daily basis. They're well informed of the different cultural differences that there may be, and will help you adjust and tailor your, whether it's your school paperwork or again with your resume. They will help you adjust and put it all into place so that by the time that you're ready to submit your first paper or your first resume, you're in good hands for this. So in addition to that, as you can see here, we have a great testimonial from one of our students, Ziki. So do take a look, but as you can see, Ziki did have a good, like, positive experience, again, just by being an international student and just being able to get that level of support. And she is one of our campus ambassadors as well. So lots of great folks to have around that will help you when you transition to your move to Canada.
Actually, Carolina, I just wanted to add one last thing since you mentioned um, the student the success and the writing. We also have English language assistance. So if you'd like somebody to read over an essay or a project or anything you're handing in, just to double check the English, essentially it's like a human chat GPT. We have that available for you too.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that, because I know that I took advantage of that when I was a student here at Queen's University. Even though I had already lived in Canada for a few years, I needed that extra level of support, right? Sometimes when you try to translate in your mind, it may not it may not be the same, right, as like what we're trying to convey the information. So they were super helpful. I had like such a great positive experience with them. So thank you for highlighting that, Aiden. Perfect. So now your journey to Queen's University. So what does that look like? So again, my expertise is immigration. So this will be a little bit heavy with immigration. Again, probably too much information, but again, we will be offering webinars where you can attend and learn more in detail in terms of what your journey to Canada will look like. So what's the number one thing that you have to do is to select the right program for you, right? We want you to be successful from the beginning. So take the time to review our website, look at the program options for you, and see what you're really interested in, right? Once you are ready to select that program, then we welcome for you to apply to Queen's University, where you will later receive, hopefully, an offer of admission. Once you have received that offer of admission, you need to accept it and pay for your tuition deposit. It is important that you pay for your tuition deposit because when you apply for your study permit, there's two very important documents that you need to submit in your application. One will be your provincial attestation letters, also known as a PAL. So this was introduced January of this year, where students need to confirm that they do have a PAL. So there's no separate application through the IRCC portal that you need to submit for this. We actually issue it to you. So we will email it to you directly. And this is a very important piece of document for your study permit application. Along with that, the other important document is your letter of acceptance. So the letter of acceptance is what confirms that you are in fact going to be coming and studying at Queen's. It will show IRCC, the immigration, the folks that will be like reviewing your application, and they will be able to know how long you're planning to come and stay in Canada, so that by the time that you arrive to Canada, your study permit will be issued for the length of your program. So once you have received the provincial attestation letter and your letter of acceptance, then you can apply for your study permit. So you have applied for your study permit and then it gets approved, right? Yay, congratulations. So again, once you get that approval, then you will be able to travel to Canada. So again, when you apply for a study permit, this piece of document will actually not be issued to you until you're physically in Canada. So until you arrive at the border or at the airport. When you submit the application online, for most of you, that will be the case. You will be applying for a study permit, but what you will see get issued to you, it's a special letter that does say that you've been basically pre-approved to come to Canada and receive your study permit, but also either your temporary resident visa or your electronic travel authorization. So this is what allows you, these two things, whether you're from an ETA requiring country or a TRV requiring country, this is what will allow you to actually travel into Canada, and then you receive your study permit once you're here. It is really important that you review your document once you have received it, because when you're studying in Canada on a full-time basis at a public DLI, a designated learning institution like Queen's University, you're eligible to work up to 24 hours per week. So this is new. This is hot off the press as of November of this year. So before, it used to be 20 hours a week. Now the government has changed that to 24 hours a week. So again, I think, you know, whether you choose to take advantage of working on or off campus, that's totally up to you. But if you're looking at, you know, adding to your resume, getting that international experience of working overseas, working in Canada, and especially if you're looking at maybe staying and working after you graduate, this will give you the opportunity to go and be able to obtain a job while you're studying at Queen's. So there's no separate application for this work permit. You just need to make sure that it's embedded in your study permit. So as you can see here, after you've graduated from Queen's University, you will be able to apply for what is called a PGWP, a post-graduation work permit. So any Queen's University students who is able to complete an academic degree that is at least 8 months of length, has maintained full-time status, and has followed all of the regulations, they will be eligible to apply for this. So this post-graduation work permit, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So we want you to be sure that if you do decide that maybe you do want to stay and maybe explore work in Canada, whether you decide to stay in Kingston or, even move to a different province, this post-graduation work permit, you're able to use it anywhere in Canada. So do take advantage of this if this is something that would interest you. Again, it would give you the opportunity to work up to 3 years, and then see what your future, what you decide that you want to do after you complete your PGWP.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Are we ready to move on to questions, or are there?
Just have a couple more slides and then I promise we're done. Yes.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
All right. Well, thank you, Carolina. Really appreciate it. So with that said, just want to quickly cover the language requirements. What's most important here is not necessarily that you memorize, or if you want, you can take a photo of what's required. But if you've been studying in a country where the primary language is English for your last 3 years of high school, you are exempt from doing any language test. And if you've been studying at a high school where the curriculum is primarily taught in English, you do not need to do a language test. So if you're on here, and you're studying in English, more than likely you are exempt from any language test. If for whatever reason you do have to do a language test and you don't quite hit where you need to be, that's okay. We'll get you set up so that you can succeed academically. We have English for accelerated. And what this does is basically over the summer before you get there, we just get you up to where you need to be. Or if you need a bit more assistance, we can take an extra year and basically get those English skills up. This is all taught by our School of English in the Q-Bridge program. Very importantly, we also have scholarships and awards for international students. The best part about these, though, is you don't even need to apply. The moment that you apply to Queen's University, we will assess you for these scholarships. We have quite a few around the $7,000 to $20,000 range, but the bulk of our scholarships are actually in the $40,000 to $100,000 range. If you are applying to an arts, science, or engineering program and you have above a 90% average, you'll actually be guaranteed to get a scholarship. So we have quite a few to give out, so many so that even last year, we had to go back and hand out more money. We're a public university, it's not for profit, so we always give out our scholarship money. So I just want to quickly go through how to apply. Be sure to review the admission requirements. You can find them on our website, even if you just go on Google and type Queen's University program requirements and hit enter, you'll find them right there. And if you type in Queen's University competitive averages, you'll see what grade average is considered competitive for the program that you're interested in. After you've checked out the admission requirements, you can submit your application one of three ways. The first way is to apply on the Ontario Universities Application Centre, which we lovingly call OAC. This is a great option for anyone that's interested in applying to multiple Ontario universities. If you're not doing that, I wouldn't recommend it. If you've already applied to some American universities, it might be easy enough just to go on Common App. You can find us on Common App as well too. It's a bit cheaper than using OWAC, so that's also a good way to save a bit of money. Or lastly, you can just apply directly to Queen's University on our website. So be sure to go on the website, figure out which option's best for you. And if you have any questions, you'll, of course, can always reach out to me and we could chat about and figure out together what would be the best way to apply. After you've applied, you'll see a list of documents that you need to send in. Please send in those documents. It is important that we do get official transcripts from your school. We can take unofficial documents in the beginning, but any offer of admission is conditional on receiving documents directly from your high school or wherever it is that you're learning. Be sure to keep an eye on your application status. And we have events always going on. And if you need to get in contact with anyone, you're always welcome to reach out to us. We're all pretty open here at Queen's University, whether it's a question about admissions for me or immigration or maybe even just adjusting to life in Canada. Carolina is an excellent resource to reach out there. You can also talk to our international ambassadors. Our international ambassadors are current students. Ziki is one of them, who you saw on a previous slide. They have pretty much all come from other countries or have extensive international experience. Unfortunately, we do not have anyone yet who speaks Portuguese. If you're a Spanish speaker on this call, good news, we do speak Spanish, but we're working on Portuguese. But you're welcome to request to connect with someone in any of the following programs or in any of the following languages that you can see there. You could also connect with me too. My email is on screen now. It is americas@queensu.ca. Very easy to remember. You can also see a link to our website right there, as well as I believe the QR code takes you to our Instagram. If for nothing else, you can at least see some beautiful photos of campus. We are located in a really beautiful spot. That's everything from us today. I'll leave up this screen so you can take the email down if you need it. And Amelia, I'll pass it over to you for the questions.
Well, thank you very much, Aidan and Carolina. We've had a number of questions come in. So I'll just start from the top. The first question from Andy is the campus based on East or West Coast? I know that you kind of gave a bit of a breakdown, but maybe people that are less familiar with the Canadian geography might need a bit more insight.
Yes, I'll do you a step further. I will pull up a map of where we are. If you were to look at a map of Canada, we are located in what's considered central Canada, which is the provinces of Ontario and Quebec. So we're in the lakes area. So we're not really on either west or east coast, and we're basically on the northern shore of the easternmost lake. I know that's probably not something you're picturing in your head, so let me show you. I'll pull up Google Maps here.
Yes, and while Aiden's pulling that up too, I know that a lot of students also think of when they think of Canada, they think of snow. Snow reaching up to maybe our shoulders sometimes. So the great thing of where we're located is that we do get snow, and we were talking actually about that earlier, but probably not the same amount of snow that you would see maybe on the East Coast. So it's a little bit more balanced. It does get a little cool for sure. But it's definitely not we're living in igloos and it in the middle of nowhere. Like Kingston's a great location. So Aiden, go ahead and show.
Absolutely. So this is Canada here. Please understand that most people live either on the coast or along the US border. So most of the country is fairly empty, which for folks that are calling in from Brazil, I imagine you could sort of picture the same way where a lot of Brazil is on the coast and there's parts that are less inhabited. So Toronto is right here. I'm going to go in. Toronto or Ontario and Quebec are here. This is actually, even though it's Eastern, it's considered Central Canada. And the big city of Toronto's here, Montreal's here, and Ottawa, our capital's there. We are right here in Kingston, Ontario. So right on Lake Ontario and by the US border. Just to zoom in a little bit more, we're actually in a region called the Thousand Islands. So there's actually over 1,000 islands here. It's a natural preserve, stunning area outside of the city, a lot of forest, hiking, lakes. And our campus, if I was to go into town here, is this is the downtown strip right here, and our campus is here. And this is just a 10-minute walk. So you're right on the water. Our campus comes right down to the edge here. There's a beautiful park. And it's pretty easy to get around to, say, Quebec City, anywhere in Southern Ontario. There's trains, there's buses. It's quite accessible.
I can imagine that's really, really pretty in both seasons.
Very much so. And I'm glad you said both seasons because that is another great way of describing Ontario. There is a hot season and there is a cold season. It can get quite warm here. And it can get cold as well too, but there's some ways to manage that pretty easily.
Good for everyone to know that for sure. Um, and we have the next question, which is, how long can I stay in Canada after I finish studying? I think you might have covered or touched on that, Carolina.
Yeah, so it is a great question for sure. So once you have successfully completed your studies at Queen's University, um, you will likely, so again, provided that you followed all of the guidelines as per IRCC, so Immigration Canada, you will be able to apply for that post-graduation work permit. And this permit is an open work permit that will allow you to stay in Canada for up to 3 years. So you, again, can work for those 3 years. Some people later on may decide that they want to maybe potentially immigrate to Canada. So there is that option. Really depends on the profile. It depends. It's a point system. So that's a whole other side of immigration. But there is the opportunity, again, for that open work permit as a temporary resident for up to 3 years. And then it's up to you to see what other options you may want to have after that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carolina. We also have a question about English language requirements, which I know that we spoke about. This student wants to know if a IELTS certificate is sufficient, and what the minimum is on each band. I'm not sure if there's a specific place that they should check this online or.
Yeah, if you look up our program requirements, you'll actually see the English requirements there. IELTS is more than sufficient. We're pretty open with what testing system you use. Probably the one that we recommend both for price point and accessibility is Duolingo is pretty easy to access because you do that right at home. It's not too complicated. If you already have your IELTS done, awesome, we'll take it. I don't have the bands memorized. Um, but like I said, if you are we're at an English, and I've seen that that question is in English as well too, and well written. If you've been studying at in English, like an English language place or a place where the primary language is English for the past 3 years before you come to Queen's, you're probably exempt anyway. We don't need an English test, or you would be exempt, I should say. If that's not the case, we'll need an English test, but we can help you with that as well too.
Perfect. Yeah, and good to know there's also information online where people can find specifics on the bands and everything. And the next question is, how long in advance do I need to start the application process?
So thankfully for us, the application is not terribly long. It's generally just going to be your grades. Three of our programs, nursing, health sciences, and commerce, do have a supplementary application. And I'm not kidding when I say it's something you can do in about 20 minutes. It's a short written response and a short verbal response as well, too. We send that out after you apply anyway, so the actual application itself is not too complicated. Um, our applications close on February 1st, so you do still have quite a bit of time. What I typically recommend to students is, do the application at a time where you're not so focused or busy with your studies, where it's a little calmer, maybe over the Christmas break. And typically, I recommend you send your application in before mid-January, just to be safe and give yourself a bit of a buffer.
And
Perfect.
just to add to that too, sorry to jump in terms of immigration as well with the application process, is that the processing times vary from country to country. So, as Aiden said, giving yourself some time, maybe during the holidays, taking a look, maybe applying sometime in January. It's crucial because to apply for a study permit, it is a lot of work. And again, the processing times can take a fair bit of time. So for the specific demographics that we're seeing here today, honestly, as soon as you get that letter of acceptance, applying for that study permit would be crucial. So, don't leave it last minute to apply for your study permit, say in August, July, June. You're really cutting it short, and otherwise you would have to wait another year potentially to begin your study. So give yourself lots of time, attend our webinars, and we can help you with your application as well.
Amazing. And good to know there's so much information and support in terms of the application process as well. And we have another question, which is, do I need a visa in order to work?
Great question. So when we apply to come to Canada, we're applying, it's basically, it almost seems like there's two applications. It's all embedded in one application, luckily, when you're applying for a study permit for the first time. So you'll be applying for either a temporary resident for your study permit, but along with that, you will receive either a temporary resident visa or an ETA. An ETA is for countries that don't require a visa to come to study in Canada, but you need this special document to say that you have been approved to come and enter Canada. So you don't need to apply for a separate application for your work permit. So remember how when we're at the airport and we get given our study permit, it's important that we review it and that it says the remarks or the conditions that say you're eligible to apply, or sorry, to work on or off campus, because this is the work permit. So even though it says study permit on your document, these conditions will allow you to go and get your social insurance number, which that's a whole other thing, but we will definitely touch base on that on one of our future webinars. But this is what will allow you to work on or off campus, but there's no separate application. There's no visa that you apply for a work permit. This is all part of your study permit application.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Carolina. And we have, a few more questions. Yes. Are there any scholarships available? I know that you mentioned a few, Aidan.
Yes, there are quite a few actually. And the nice thing about our scholarships is when you apply, we automatically assess you for them. So when you actually, if you get an offer as well to Queen's, you'll see the scholarships you're getting on the offer letter. So you'll know right away that you have an offer and how much money is coming with it. So we've made it really simple for you. There's no extra work you need to do. The scholarships range from $7,000 to $100,000 Canadian. There's a lot of them in that upper range as well too, that $40,000 to $100,000.
Perfect, thank you. And this is another question about English language requirements. I know you mentioned Duolingo, Aidan, but generally, how good do you think students need to speak English in order to, how well, should I say, speak English in order to kind of feel comfortable with their Canadian experience?
You could get by and I mean, we will, depending on where you're coming from, you may require an English test. If you're exempt from an English test, I would say one thing I've noticed with a lot of students is, and anytime somebody's speaking a language that's not their first language, they underestimate how good they are. Your English is probably a lot better than you think it is. And in Canada, we have a lot of folks from all over the world. We have two languages in Canada, well, two official languages in Canada, French and English. We're very used to people speaking different languages and not having perfect English or perfect French or whatever it is. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think you'd fit in just fine. And keep in mind too, we do have close to 4,000 international students. And it's not like a majority of the world speaks English. So we do have people coming with many different languages and many different abilities.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. We have also a question about Canada and settling in. Mainly, how expensive do you find Canada to be? There's a question about how expensive rent is. I know that you mentioned a lot of on-campus accommodation, which is the usual route, but public transport, things like that. What should students expect to pay for, and how expensive is it?
This is a really good question. And in Canada, much like in other countries in the world, it really depends where you are. With that said, Kingston is quite inexpensive. Rent prices are very low here compared to areas like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver, which is, I think, about the highest. It's very affordable. There's also a ton of student housing. So right around Queen's campus, there pretty much it's all student housing. It's all walking distance to campus. There are also properties that we own that are not residence buildings that we rent out to students. So we prioritize international students. We don't gouge you or anything on the rent. We've tried to make it very affordable. So I would say Kingston is considered quite a livable city. I've moved sort of all around Ontario, which is our biggest province, and I found rent to be most most affordable here, which is actually saying quite a bit because certain areas, some of the big cities can be quite expensive. We also have an office of the off-campus living advisor that'll help you connect with landlords, help you find places that are reasonable, and will help you navigate the rental system so you're not doing that alone. Yeah, we have a lot of support in that way.
Can I
Yeah,
add to that?
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Super. Sorry, I know that we're getting close with time, but
Oh,
also
no,
if you're a student, there's also benefits within the community as well. So there are certain grocery stores in Kingston that if you show your student ID that you're a Queen's University student, you get discounts. So I believe that one of them in it's within like 10 minutes of walking distance to Queen's University. On Tuesdays, they get a 10% discount off their grocery bill. As well, for taking the bus within Kingston, either that's all part of your ancillary fees. You don't have to pay extra for that. So all you have to do is show, I like to call it the badge. You just show your student ID, and then you don't have to pay for the public transportation. As well, if you're taking the train to Toronto or Montreal, or sometimes like the buses as well, there are student discounts as well, even within the shopping center. So as long as you show this ID, then you get also multiple discounts within the Kingston community.
That's really good to know. And yeah, it'd be interesting to hear quickly if Kingston is very much, it seems like very much a campus-centered university where the students kind of take priority and seems quite safe and yeah, student focused. I think that's the impression I got.
Very much so. I think you nailed it exactly. So for the folks listening, if you've ever seen a movie, movies where usually American movies where somebody goes off to university and they get there and it seems like the whole city revolves around university life, that's Kingston.
Very good to know. Yeah. And we have one more question, which is, do you have a list of courses? I would imagine that would be on the website.
Yes, so all Canadian universities list their courses online. So if you type in, you know, Queen's philosophy courses, you can see what's available, what's required to do a major. You can read course descriptions. It's actually something that I recommend you do if you're comparing programs or if you're just not sure what you want to study. But that's probably the best way to access it. That's a really good question.
Amazing. I think that's all of our questions. I'm not sure if you guys had any final bits you wanted to add before we wrap things up.
Nothing for me, just obrigado. Everyone who was able to join today. It was really nice to have you here. And I hope this was interesting. And Amelia, thank you so much for hosting. Really appreciate it. This has been great.
Oh, no worries at all. Thank you so much to Carolina and Aidan and everyone listening today. You'll receive a recording of this webinar to listen back in your own time. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.